Hello and welcome to DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dyck. Today we're touring the chocolate factory with Joseph Siegel, Director of Retention at Mr. Beast's company Feastables. This podcast was a smorgasbord of outside-the-box ideas for engaging your audience in delightful and innovative ways. We chat through Joseph's most successful and most stressful campaign executions, from an interactive briefcase email to a repeat clicker request that netted over 2 million clicks in a single campaign. When you're Mr. Beast's email guy, the pressure to delight is real, but Joseph's up for the task. On with the show.
We're really looking to break barriers here and not really follow the norm. And that really goes across every single lifecycle and retention channel there is. We were thinking through ideas of how do we beastify emails? How do we get people coming to our emails not just to see a product, not just to see a picture of Mr. Beast? We need to come up with ideas that are new and fresh. And so we actually started with a campaign, and the email said, "Don't click this button." And then the button said, "Don't click me." After clicking the button, it would then change the headline in the email and say, "Well, why did you click me? I told you not to." Basically took users through a series of 7 or 8 different phrases of saying why are you clicking me? Stop clicking me. It totally took off. It was actually the most successful email we've ever sent to date. That's what started everything.
Looking for an effective way to drive traffic to your Shopify site and increase sales? Criteo's integration with Shopify helps attract buyers with relevant ads, deliver rich consumer experiences, and drive better commerce outcomes. The Criteo plus Shopify integration allows merchants to launch in a matter of clicks, meaning no development or technical skills are needed. Benefits of this integration include expanded reach, greater personalization, elevated acquisition rates for high-intent buyers, and increased retention. With Criteo, you can acquire new customers across the open web and build audiences from the world's largest commerce dataset. To get started, visit criteo.com/DTC. Joseph, welcome to the D2C Podcast. This is a long time coming. I feel like we've been in contact for almost a year here. I'm super excited. Feastables is obviously one of the coolest companies out there. It was good to meet you in Las Vegas. But I wanted to start with a little bit about your marketer's hero's journey. How did you come to work at Mr. Beast as a director of retention and e-com growth?
Yeah, so I started as a general marketer, probably like most people. It was at a small startup called Zoe Sleep, and we sold curved pillows, mostly through Facebook ads. And the company itself scaled pretty rapidly. I was there for a year and a half, took the company to do multiple 7 figures. It was a startup in its first year, actually. So that essentially just gave me a crash course in email and SMS marketing. I was kind of forced to figure out, what I was good at, what I wasn't. And thankfully there were courses like Ezra Firestones and Chase Diamonds, and obviously you just learn the most, by doing. So, that kind of piqued my interest in e-com and just got me, down this whole rabbit hole. And then from there, went on to do a small boutique agency, worked with a couple brands there, and was then the first hired a company called Fluency Firm, where I was the head of lifecycle and retention. And that's actually where I got my my training and just sort of influencer or celebrity-driven brands. We worked with some really cool shops like Pharrell's company, Human Race, Michelle Pfeiffer's company, Henry Rose, and a couple others. So, yeah, man, it was a crazy ride, and eventually just got poached by Feastables, kind of like a dream come true situation, and now I'm here.
What's been the most sort of different thing about working for a company like Feastables versus some of I guess you already had some experience with celebrity-led brands, but what's been the most different part about the experience working for a brand like Feastables?
Yeah, it's there's no playbook, right? So when you work with the biggest creator in the world, you can't really follow the same rules as everyone else. So, working with, I'm not going to downgrade any other celebrity or influencer that I've worked with, but the reality is that they just didn't have the same level of audience or crazy fan base, that Mr. Beast has. So
he's the most famous person in the world at this point. Is that have we established that?
Look, it depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to a 12-year-old, they will probably say yes.
What would ChatGPT say? I guess only as of 2021 they'd have the answer, so it's not that useful anyway, but he'd still probably be pretty big back then.
Yeah, he's up there for sure.
Unbelievable. So you come in and I wanted to kind of frame things around this idea of like outside the box, because I know you've done so many interesting things outside the box because you kind of have to, because people expect these kind of things from Mr. Beast. So I want to talk about those, but I also want to talk about things like what are some of the tried and true things like still inside the box that you've been doing, that you've ported over, like in terms of, so let's maybe start with a few of the outside of the box sort of integrations and things you've done on the retention side at Feastables.
So we're starting with the crazy stuff, just to be
Start
clear.
with the crazy stuff, yeah.
Probably too many to go over here, but yeah, I mean, Black Friday, we did a 99% off discount code, spin the wheel, and that essentially broke Just Uno, and was a wildly successful promotion, but also wildly costly promotion. Scared the hell out of me in the moment, just because the form or the wheel broke, and so everyone who was ordering on Black Friday got 99% off. That was a crazy one.
What was it supposed to be? What I don't know how. First of all, this would be like the only like spin wheel thing I've ever like. It's almost worth it just to subvert that expectation, because it's like the only one that's ever just been like a really good discount. First of all.
Yeah. Well, transparently, the 99% off code was supposed to be, I think, shown to 1% of the traffic. In reality, so
I was going to ask you about your biggest fuck up, so I like that we covered that one first too.
Oh yeah, no. So that's number one, right? So I coded that into the form, and the problem is it's actually, I think it's like an open API or like an open code source, and so people were actually able to see that we set the the form to show the 99% off to only 1% of traffic. So people, freaking out online, and then just like grouping up together to hack the form, and obviously successfully did it. Thankfully, we have a great team here and we caught it. But look, man, I was sweating bullets. That was actually the first month that I joined the company. So it was a great welcome, welcome to the Mr. Beast world.
What a top of funnel initiative, though, too, right? You're going to get like, anyone who didn't know about the brand will certainly be indoctrinated now at this point. What has been the outcome of that? Have you found a silver lining in that mistake?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we have the best team in the world, so why not just build the technology out in house, and just don't rely on third party platforms, and there's no discredit to anyone like that. It's just when you see it, just a massive spike in traffic and volume, it's pretty hard for anyone to keep up with that. So that's just kind of our learning lesson.
Let's go back and chat about some of the other marketing activations, retention activations you've done on the email side with Feastables.
So let's just get into SMS. So, and this is something I think we talked a little bit about before. So I really wanted to turn SMS into an experiential channel for us. And by that, I just really mean a channel that we can engage users more than anywhere else. We've done a couple things, a couple campaigns, and I think like the talk around town is like conversational SMS, and like, what does that really mean? In my experience with conversational SMS, it's like, a brand has a campaign and, maybe they're asking you to pick, what's your favorite color? What's your thought on this? But it's not super engaging, at least like the way I see it. It's sort of like a one-off answer, and they're like, thanks, here's a discount code. So we want to do things a little different. We have a great, like I said, we have a great team in-house and a great tech team. And also I have a great partner in Jess, who's our head of CX, and she built out a really cool bot. And this bot actually allowed us, or essentially powered this SMS game that we built. And the premise of the game was, if you could decode 3 emoji phrases in a row, and be one of the first to do it, or if like the first 10 people to do that would actually win every single snack we sold in our store. So it was a race to the finish, and essentially created chaos. And I think I sent the text out on a Saturday. By the way, great learning on that. Don't send out a massive campaign that you expect a lot of traffic or volume in on the weekend, because your CX team is probably not going to be online and around to help out. So, my Saturday was essentially torn to shreds, just trying to fix the situation, because first of all, the game broke pretty much in the first 30 minutes or hour. We got 30,000 people who opted in to play the game right away. It was also a huge list growth opportunity for us. But yeah, man, it was a fun one. It was definitely worth trying. I don't know if we'll do it again, but yeah.
Was this the one that you generated 2 million clicks on?
So that's an email. So that's an email, and we can get into that if you want.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So we've kind of like I said, we're really looking to break barriers here and not really follow the norm. And that really goes across especially just every single life cycle and retention channel there is. So with email specifically, we were thinking through ideas of how do we beastify emails? How do we get people coming to our emails, not just to see a product, not just to see a picture of Mr. Beast? While those are great, we need to come up with ideas that are new and fresh. And so we actually started with a campaign, and this is through technology that actually allows us to create interactive emails. And the email said, "Don't click this email." So that was the subject line. That was the headline of the email, said, "Don't click this button." And then the button said, "Don't click me." After clicking the button, it would then change the headline in the email and it would say, "Well, why did you click me? I told you not to." And basically took users through a series of like 7 or 8 different phrases of saying like, "Why are you clicking me? Stop clicking me." And it's just kind of like reverse psychology. You just want to keep clicking until you can't anymore. And so that email was kind of the start of this whole thing. It totally took off. It was actually the most successful email we've ever sent to date. And this has actually been taking a backseat to this other email that you mentioned earlier. But that's what started everything.
How did you integrate the sales? When you say success, do you mean, first of all, it drove the most sales or drove the most integration? Engagement.
Yeah. The KPI that I look for is really engagement. So it's like how many people are responding to the email. Obviously, if you get responses in the inbox, it just instantly moves you into that primary tab. Beyond that, getting a click is obviously one of the most important things you could do. So that was the goal with that campaign, just drive the click. Beyond that, I think a lot of people probably expected us to have some sort of giveaway element at the end of the click journey. But that email was really just like, hey, okay, fine, like, you win. Here's 10% off milk chocolate or something.
Yeah.
So it drove sales. It wasn't like the biggest sales driver we've ever done, though.
It reminds me of the I Think You Should Leave egg game. Have you watched I Think You Should Leave? If you haven't, everyone who listens to this podcast should watch that show. But there's one that's about a video game that just is like, anytime you can create that delightful, don't know what's going to happen next experience, and to be able to do that in an email, which is usually a static environment, was probably pretty eye-opening for people.
Totally. Yeah, look, people were hooked and got tons of responses. We're just like, hey, when's the next one? We want to keep getting more of these. And so we've sort of tried to commoditize this and turn it into like sort of like a habitual thing at this point where we're sending at least one or so a month. And that kind of led us to that email that you referenced earlier where we sent an email to actually just a fraction of our list. We didn't want to overwhelm everyone, and we just didn't really know if this would work or not. But, the email essentially said the first 5 people to click this email 500 times would win 50% off. It was basically, redeemed in a matter of minutes. And beyond that, I think we got like 3,000, actually more than 4,000 people who clicked it 500 times. So that amounted to, over 2 million clicks overall. I mean, look, in my experience, I've never seen an email get more than 10 clicks per recipient. So it was totally mind-blowing.
That is unreal. We got to try that. It's funny. We do get, as a newsletter, get a lot of people who click a lot of the links. So we do get sometimes more than that. But wow, it's literally like, it's like an experiment in like conscious spam, right? Like just spam this button, literally. It becomes meditative. I love it. You just get them to say, Mr. Beast over and over in their head as they do it. And then they're like disciples for life. Yeah,
totally. And if you go to the Mr. Beast or the Shop Mr. Beast website, he actually, I think, had a game that's very similar to this, where you just have to click, scroll your mouse and click on a picture of Mr. Beast. And like, if you clicked it however many times in the thousands, you would actually win something for free. So it's sort of modeled off of that. And actually the next variation to this that I think I'm going to test is sort of randomizing the winner. So it's like one person or like 10 people who click this button are going to win something cool. Because then I think that could actually drive even more clicks.
I think so. It makes me think of like captchas, because someone explained to me once that a lot of captchas that you just have to click, they know bots can only like click in the center or something like that, whereas there's like a million different little places you could click. It'd be so interesting for you to pick a pixel or like 4 pixels or whatever with that. When they click on that, that's what works. Ooh, I like that.
Maybe that'll be the next one.
Nice. All right. Well, keep feeding you ideas. I want to ask, like, I don't know, you probably can't give exact data, but what do your performance benchmarks even look like? Because I imagine, numbers that you would have been thrilled with in your agency would look really bad in terms of what you're sending at Feastables. Like, what can you say about the benchmarks you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, I can't share everything, but actually, when I actually joined the brand, they weren't anything great, and I'm not here to like toot my own horn by any means, but essentially we were more so just like a one-dimensional brand, and just like over email specifically, sending the regular kind of cadence of emails like social proof and like product promotions and whatever, and so I would say, like, as far as benchmarks go now, we're seeing around 40% plus on open rates, and click rate at this point, I think even just was in the dashboard today, is above 2%. So I'm not sure what you were expecting or anyone else, but we certainly have campaigns that get over 10, and I think actually doing these interactive emails has actually helped the static emails perform better, because basically nobody knows when it's going to be an interactive or clickable email or like multi-click email, and so that's sort of just like my theory. We're going to continue kind of testing that, but obviously still work to do though.
Talk a little bit about that interactive briefcase email that you sent out as well, because I know that was a little bit outside the box.
Yeah, look, there's nothing more on brand for Mr. Beast than having something with a briefcase, right? So, one of my favorite shows growing up was Deal or No Deal. Obviously, love Howie Mandel, and we wanted to create. Look, it's just another game, and essentially the email for anyone who can't see it, obviously. It was, I think it was like 20 briefcases in an email. And the prompt was, one of these briefcases contains a mystery discount code. And you would have to click, you can open all the briefcases if you wanted to, but you'd have to click through each and every briefcase in order to see, which briefcase had the winning, or essentially like the discount code in it. If it didn't have the code in it, it would just open it and it would say try again. So yeah, that one was a major hit. And honestly, we're probably going to play off of that concept again soon.
I love it. One of the things that Jess alluded to when she came on was this idea of giving everyone who comes to the website or interacts with their emails a piece of the Jimmy Pie, which I think should be one of his next products. I think he should create like a moon pie that's called the Jimmy Pie, give everyone a taste of the Jimmy Pie. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, like, how do you do that in email? I think there's a way that you probably can't talk about, because she alluded to it. And I think there's so many brands in the world right now that are working on a way to create an AI avatar for their brand, for their hero, for me and the podcast or whatever. But what are the ways right now that you're trying to give people a piece of the Jimmy experience when they interact with your emails and SMS?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be repetitive here, but if you watch Mr. Beast's videos, and a lot of them, right, a lot of them have just like game elements to them, and just like first to do this or last to do that. And so we're sort of trying to bring the video elements into our email experiences, which just happens to be, at least on my part, like the easiest channel to do that with. I mean, obviously we could do stuff on the website, and that's probably where, we'll experiment there next. But essentially just bringing those cool like contests into emails. And that's just sort of been the play so far.
Love it. I just saw Jimmy the other day tweeting about Hershey's, about one of his friends getting. Did you see this? One of his friends got brought into like a blind taste test to test between like Hershey's and Feastables. I just wanted to ask: are you going to turn that into content? I feel like there's some content potentially there. Or you just don't want to mention them even.
Yeah. We don't do a lot of direct marketing, involving Hershey's. I mean, if you go to our website, I think we probably have some sort of comparison chart that has like Hershey's and other name brands on there. But for the most part, we kind of let Jimmy, talk about it if he wants. And for us, like, we're just kind of following the lead there. He's
got to start challenging other chocolate founders to like wrestling matches and stuff. Follow the Elon model.
That would be
Elon Zuckerberg.
Something to watch.
Definitely would. Well, that he would get billions of people watching it. So
and he's been bulking up. So I would put my money on Jimmy. I mean, obviously I might be a little biased here, but
that's amazing. Well, we got to get him on the podcast, and he can have all these ideas for free eventually. Exactly. I saw another one of your tweets. I love going off. You're pretty active in the DTC community there. And you retweeted something just sort of about the future by Alex Ohanian about the future of brands being community driven, and I think that's something that we can all relate to. And you guys obviously are living and embodying that. Like, are you like I've heard people be pretty pessimistic on it, saying like if you don't have a community in the next 10 years, like you're not going to there won't be a lot of Me Too products, and that you will need to have these communities in order to maintain that connection to your customer. What's your philosophy on it?
Look, if you're starting a brand from scratch, I think it's like night and day. If you had a community built into your personal brand, and versus someone who didn't, the person with the audience is going to win every single time. Just seeing it firsthand, obviously, with working with other celebrities and influencer-driven brands, it's just like been a superpower that you can always lean on, regardless of economy, regardless of if you have any sales running. So that's something that we've always leaned on. And obviously beyond that, just customer feedback, obviously guiding, new product innovation and marketing ideas and what people actually want from us. So man, yeah, it's a total game changer.
And that also goes back to some of the things that you're doing that are still inside the box, that you're not necessarily always trying to innovate on. I was wondering is there anything else that you'd highlight that's sort of like really tried and true about how your operation works?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies have Facebook groups. For us, I think our audience probably resonates a little more with youthful culture and just, apps like Discord. And so I think we have like 15,000 plus people on the Discord, and it's a place we funnel people down. It's probably as bottom of the funnel as it gets for us. And that's kind of like where people go just to obviously just, chat with each other, meet each other, BS around, and not that we get a ton out of it, but it's certainly a testing ground for us. If we want to launch anything new, they're the first people we go and talk to, and don't underestimate those kind of communities.
I've been watching a lot of Liquid Death Mountain Waters content lately, and they invest a lot in that really high end, content where they made rock songs out of their haters' tears or whatever, which I thought was hilarious. I got to have Andy on the podcast to talk about it. Totally. How do you guys? Because obviously Mr. Beast is a content machine. How does Feastables think about video content specifically, and where it integrates in the experience?
Yeah. So we have a phenomenal, probably best in class video content team here internally at Feastables, and I think we essentially work with the Mr. Beast team as well for that. But we use that for any kind of major brand moment, I guess, as any kind of brand would do. But it's really powered through Instagram and TikTok for us, and it's essentially just invaluable. I mean, it's what allows us to create our big brand moments. It's not going to be through an email. It's not going to be through a text. That is actually how we deliver like the big brand moment, big brand moments out to everyone. So, and
then you support it with email and SMS. Like if you do big brand moments, then you're also sending emails and SMS to make sure you get maximum engagement with it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like adding fuel to the fire. We'll send people, like for example, we just gave away a Lamborghini, right? So we just did a Lamborghini giveaway in partnership with 7-Eleven, and we did a TikTok video for it. We did an Instagram story, and just sent out a couple emails. Pushing to those channels, and obviously, it's going to drive just even more views for them. So,
and that becomes part of the value proposition of being subscribed to your channels, right? So you're like, what is your ratio of even like sales emails to these content emails?
It's very few at this point. Like we barely sent any, if at all, sales emails now. So it's just not something we want to rely on. It's not something we want to encourage. And we participated in Prime Day, but that was, on Amazon. So we don't really do any like site-wide promotions on Feastables.com right now.
Did you send any notices, SMS about like to your Amazon shoppers about Prime Day?
Just email. We try to keep SMS at this point for bigger brand moments, and that's sort of been like a new initiative for us. Reserving our text list, who obviously is super valuable for those big moments. So yeah, just email for that one.
Can you talk at all about your sort of overall strategy around segmentation and how you view like how many different kinds of messages you're sending out to how many different kinds of audiences?
Yeah. So, I mean, I keep it pretty simple. So I break it down between, just, non-customers or just like, just subscribers at that point, people who are just now like recently coming into the list. And I probably cap that up to around 30 to 45 days of joining the list or just being active without purchasing. We're also super heavily invested into our one-time buyer segments. That's just like the lowest hanging fruit for us, and I'd imagine it's probably the case for a lot of other brands. And then obviously, we'll have some sort of win-back segments of people who are purchasing specifically for us via giveaways, which for me as, a retention marketer has been probably my biggest challenge to date. Getting people who are just coming for a promotion to actually return for the product or return for some sort of other experience that doesn't necessarily have a giveaway element to it. But yeah, that probably represents the bulk of our segmentation.
I would also love to know every person who clicked 500 times. You know what I mean? To actually get some absolute fanatics on that list, and you're like, anytime you need, to up your clicks, like that would be a pretty good audience too for Facebook and other things as well.
You just gave me a great idea. This is why we're chatting right now. And
nice.
Yeah, you're totally right. I should actually build a sort of like an interactive email segment of anyone who's clicked multiple times like in any of those emails. And if a click rate's running low, we'll just get a little spike in, and that's man, I can't believe I didn't think about that.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice. And you also mentioned that you're in a couple Slack communities, and you mentioned some of the brands that you're in there with. Are there any other brands that you'd call out that you sort of admire for the way that they run their email campaigns?
I probably should be better about looking at other brands, but for the most part, I'm really heads down and focused on Feastables. I'll say there's another brand called Ora Bora that I look to all the time for inspiration. They're super creative, super out of the box. They don't like to do anything, black and white. They're always like, at least in my experience of their emails, like just trying something new every single time. And Mini Katana is obviously a good one. That's probably it for me.
I love it. Carly would want me to ask, because I did see your tweet just praising her. I don't know if she stole your account when she was there with you in LA. I just think the way she connects with so many great people, just the way that she's honestly brought so many great people into my ecosystem. Not you, because we actually connected beforehand, because you were a fan of DTC. But so many great people she's kind of brought into my orbit, and I've never met a person who's sort of better at networking and connecting to people that she's into. So if you're listening to this podcast, you should try to network with Carly McFarland from Mini Katana, and she will accelerate your networking game by just knowing her. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. And by the way, I met her at your event in Vegas. And that's funny you say that, because that is 100% the first thing I would think of when I think of Carly. She just thinks about other people before herself, and like always does her best to just, put everyone else in the spotlight, and she's awesome. Go follow her on Twitter. She's a great Twitter follow, and even better friend.
She's going to love this section. Out of the blue, just praise heaped on her. What can you say about your plans, like how your plans for the future? You mentioned obviously that you want to send more of these sort of complex emails, like once a month cadence. Anything else you can speak of to your goals on the email and retention side?
So the brand is moving more in the direction of being an omni-channel brand, right? So we are in every single Walmart, we're in every single 7-Eleven, we're in all these retailers across the world. And at this point, it's like, it's not just Feastables.com anymore. So we want to give all those other channels a voice and essentially an outlet for shoppers to come onto our website and purchase from any of those. So essentially, that's more of like the overall e-commerce strategy that we're focusing on. And how that pertains to email, it's a lot of like retailer shout outs, a lot of retail, hopefully soon, like retailer specific promotions.
When it comes to these giant promotions that you run, are they things that kind of come down to you, or is there ever the opportunity for you to be like, hey, what about another Lamborghini or some better idea? I don't know. Like, does it ever come up from you, or does it always come down from Mr. Beast and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, it's a collective effort. Like, everyone has a voice, everyone has a say, and it's not just like my job. It's not just like any one specific job. So ultimately, when we partner with retailers or do any sort of specific product promotion, there's a lot of support going around for big opportunities.
Nice. Well, if you're listening out there and want to try Feastables, you want to try these nuts, you've got to go to Feastables.com. And then otherwise, Joseph, would you want people to kind of look you up on Twitter? I know you've put some effort into your presence there.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter, ecom_Joseph. You can also go on my LinkedIn. I post some stuff there occasionally, and that pretty much wraps it up.
Nice. Joseph, thanks for coming on today. This was awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're not getting the DTC newsletter, you can subscribe for free at directtoconsumer.co. And if you want to learn more about Pilot House's all-killer, no-filler services, take off to pilothouse.co. I'm Eric Dyck, and this has been the DTC Podcast. We'll see you next time.